So good afternoon everyone. Namaskar to you and to the future online audience who may be watching this. So my name is Subhankar Vedant. I am working as a professor in physics at NISER Bhubaneswar. My core research area is nanomagnetism and spintonics. In general, condensed matter physics. I am an experimentalist and I like teaching. I like research. That's the reason I have taken a position at a place like IISER Berhampur, which is NISER. I have always found NISER, IISERs are very similar, just different names. So we are very busy with undergraduate teaching, graduate teaching, research and so on. So today I like to discuss some things which you may be knowing but maybe not realizing, and that's what we will discuss in the next couple of minutes. So your theme is fantastic actually, that threads to tapestries, ideas woven together. Our life is very much similar. So if you actually look back, you are very young, the students here, but there are adults who are also here and who may be watching it. So if you look back, our life is also like a tapestry. It has been woven by several characters, starting with you yourself, because you are the starting point. So you are the first dot, and there are many dots, and there is a painter. Then there are other things, other characters, which builds your life, which builds your character, and that finally becomes a success. So we'll see that's very much also in science and the field I am carrying on. So I must say that I was born in a very small village in the district of Cuttack in Odisha. So, you know, everybody has their own set of stories, but I must say that in our village it was a very challenging situation. I mean, the roads were not good, and in our times, well, I'm not super old, but just to tell that 30 years ago, when I was going to school, so our parents cannot think that they have to send you somewhere else. I believe in the audience there are students who are coming from different parts of India. But in our times it is the nearest school, the nearest college, the nearest university is your destination. Okay. So unless you really do something scary that they want to send you something. Okay. So but this kind of challenging situations also tells you to survive, to struggle and to achieve. And I have learned that in my life too. Now obviously when I think back when I was doing my school education, I mean, we know a little bit about electrons, but we didn't bother that electron also has a spin. And now I believe to be an expert in the field of spintonics. So it is how your life transforms with certain characters and certain mentors. And the field of spintonics, you know, so that basically consists of the spins of electrons, and that can be, you know, woven together to make technology. And you all are using that technology, even if you don't realize it. And that's what I will show you. So life and science begin as loose threads. This is very much true. And we combine threads and we make fabrics, or we make paintings, whatever, or tapestries, whatever you want to say. Okay. And this process is very nice, very beautiful, can be sometimes bumpy, but finally it is good. So great tapestries begin with humble threads, because you never know what is something waiting for you, but you have to try and you have to pursue it. Now when we talk about ideas, and we have great entrepreneurs, we have great successful businessmen, everybody is scientist, everything starts with a small idea. And small idea is great, but sometimes your individual small idea may not take you to somewhere. So that's the reason people say if you want to understand something, you have to have many ideas and you have to connect many ideas. And that is something the so-called connecting the dots. We have a page of paper or a paper and we have many dots. You don't know what it is. The dot looks arbitrary. But when you connect in a meaningful way, you get something. It can be a painting, it can be something. Okay? Now, in our everyday life, actually you connect those kind of dots. For example, if you talk about stories, it is connecting to different kind of characters. If you talk about cultures, it is actually connecting our traditions, our lifestyle, our society, and so on. When we talk about societies, in the society we are not alone. We are not a single dot. There are several other dots, and we interact with each other, and so on. And so also technology. Technology doesn't stand alone. It actually takes science and engineering hand to hand. Then only it becomes technology. Otherwise, it would never be. It's same thing also about science. It is also connecting dots, connecting ideas, connecting novel understandings, and so on, so that you can make impactful technologies. So understanding does not come from knowing more facts, because we can be always very proud, can become egoist at times, that we know too many things. But just knowing too many things may not make you intelligent. If you can connect things, then only things can be much better. Now coming back to the field of spintronics, as I said, it is something to do with the electrons. Electrons, one of the fundamental particles. So we know electron has a charge and spin. And I'm using this PowerPoint presenter, you are recording, and you are kind of hearing me through the microphone and so on. This is the power of electronics, the technology. And when we talk about electronics, it uses the charge degree of freedom. Okay? But we also should know that electron has a spin degree of freedom. Now if we use the spin degree of freedom, then that is called spintronics. Of course, spintronics also at the same time uses the charge degree of freedom. So spintronics is both charge and spin. Okay? Now you ask the question why we want to use the field of spintronics, because we are happy with electronics. Definitely, the spintronics can deliver you much more power efficient technologies. Okay, and many other things which you may know or may not know. When you talk about energy, power, so we have different means of generating energy. We have hydropower, means you generate power with turbines at the rivers, you make dams and so on. Excuse me. You have nuclear power, okay, although it's extinct in many European or Western countries, but it's very popular in India, and a country like India is quite relying on nuclear power. I come from the Department of Atomic Energy. I know our organization pays a lot of time, lot of effort, lot of investment for making nuclear energy. Then we have solar power. This is renewable energy. That is also coming very fast to the society, to the market, because particularly in India, particularly in Odisha where we live, we have been blessed with so much of sunshine. So we can take it to the next step. We can generate electricity out of it. And wind power and other forms of energy. Now the point is, when day by day, year by year, our requirement of power is getting more and more, because we want to give electricity to everybody, and that is how it should be. It's a kind of fundamental right that people must get electricity. Number two, but at the same time, we are also using more and more devices. Okay, just ask yourself, or just ask your parents, when they were like you, how many mobile phones they had, how many computers they had. Now you ask yourself, 10 years ago what you had, and now what you have, and 10 years down the line, you are definitely going to have much more. Many types of devices which the cartoon is showing. So we actually need much more energy than we needed before. And it has been predicted that 10 to 15 years down the line, world's 1/3 electricity will be consumed just for computers. It sounds crazy, isn't it? Because we say computers don't consume much energy, like your washing machines or air conditioning or your freezer and so on. But imagine a house, maybe you have one fridge, one washing machine, okay, a couple of air conditioning, but you don't use it all the time. But in a house, there are several members. Almost everybody is now getting a computer and multiple devices, mobile phones, tablets, iPads and computers and so on. Then you are using the internet storage, for example, Google Drive, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. These are all stored somewhere else, yeah, and it is consuming a lot of energy. So we must now produce more and more energy, and it is not easy. You cannot create rivers. You cannot create more dams. You can do a little bit. Nuclear energy, although it's very good, but there are a lot of challenges with it. So people are thinking, can we reduce our energy requirement? When I say reduce, that does not mean that you reduce using your electronic gadgets. You can still use it, but make power efficient devices. And in that respect, Spintronics come to rescue us, and I will show you how. Now, if you just look back the history of computers, how Spintronics is playing a major role. These are one of the very old computers. You can find out no memory, and this computer, I think, had many vacuum tubes, some thousands number of vacuum tube diodes, hand soldering, and so on. So, how to make things better? So people put a lot of time, engineers put time, and finally they build better computers. And this is something I've just taken recently, that now your small mobile phone is also having like 1000 gigabytes storage. So what exactly happened that you get this kind of thing? And let me tell you, there are two types of storage technology. One is your hard disk drive, HDD, and another is solid state drive, SSD. The SSDs actually take capacitor as the technology. So basically they use charge degree of freedom. Okay, it's very good, but it's more expensive, and we are almost going to saturate the technology very soon. Already the diodes are in the size of 20 nanometer, and we can push a little bit further, but it will look saturated. Okay. However, if you look today, more than 80 to 90% of global data storage, all these, as I said, Facebook, Instagram, Google Drive, your WhatsApp, all this data is stored somewhere else. Okay, and these are all hard disk drives, and they actually have the major storage. So how the hard disk drive works? It is to do something called GN micro resistance. So let's just play this. So the GMR, in fact, is something like if the two ferromagnets are parallel, there are two girls are facing in the same direction. The third girl, which was representing an electron, trying to pass, then it gets very easy passing. So no scattering, no resistance. So if you measure the resistance, it actually leads to something called zero resistance. But if they are anti-parallel, so they are facing each other, so the third girl or the electron cannot pass easily. So you have a lot of scattering. And that's the maximum resistance. This is basically the 0 and 1 building block of your computer. Okay, we are very happy, and this is discovered by Professor Peter Grunberg and Professor Albert Ford. They got the Nobel Prize in 2007 for their discovery, which they made around 1985-86. They got the Nobel Prize because this idea, and in the beginning they were not very sure about it. And later on they made this idea, and industries bought this idea, and finally we have the computers. It's again a long process. Okay. Now, if we talk about Spintronics, it's just not about computers. It is also about neuromorphic computing. Okay. So there are a lot of brain-inspired computing is happening, and Spintronics can do that. Quantum computing. We are hearing about quantum computers. So Spintronics can also deliver quantum computers. Then we have spin transistors. We have quantum communications, okay, wireless communication, high frequency communication, that can be also done with Spintronics. And also many sensors. And also with Spintronics you can build flexible Spintronics, which you can wear on your body to use as a sensor to probe different type of body dynamics. Now, we are talking about interaction. So spins, okay, so what is nanomagnetism? At the nanoscale, magnetism can behave very different. If you take a brick, okay, and you cut it, make it smaller and smaller, the small part of the brick will also have the same kind of property of the big brick. But if you take many quantum matter, when you make it smaller, the quantum mechanics or the quantum mechanical properties will come into picture. The same happens with magnetic systems. You make nanomagnetic system, the properties can be very different. And here, when we talk about at the spin level, the spins and another spin, they always interact. They can make order state, they can make strong ordering, they can make many types of interesting properties. And those things we can use to understand many fundamental science, and at the same time we can also try to understand or build technologies. So progress emerges from relationship, not isolation. So we should always interact with each other. That's the kind of message we learn, that we should not be living in isolation. Okay. Now, just about me, it's not a self-propaganda, but I think your colleagues have just said, I just want to say that I come from a very, very humble background, from a very small village, with very limited, facilities. But somehow I could achieve something so that I am delivering this talk in front of you. And I had the pleasure to do my PhD at University of Wisconsin in Germany. And I remember when I went for my postdoc to Princeton University in US, that day I got a very nice email from my MSc professor from Utrecht University. He wrote, "You are the first student of our university who has gone to Princeton." It is nothing to feel very ego, but it is something to feel very proud. And also it gives you some kind of moral responsibility that you have to perform well, which is also good for you. And on this day, I want to really give credit to my threads. And those threads are not teachers, my parents, my mentors, and institutions. So I did not specifically put my parents, because my parents are also my first teachers. My parents are always my lifetime mentors. But there are many other mentors and teachers as well, and institutions through which I have got my education, and also currently the institution which gives me a beautiful platform to carry out the ideas I have to performing research. So I just want to tell that I did not move forward alone. I actually was carried by many connections. Those connections, those threads, are my teachers, mentors, my family, and my institutions. What I have learned, that education is a loop and science as an equalizer. They give you the platform to develop your ideas. They actually teach you what you can do, and they give you possibilities what you can explore. So the bottom line, that all must be educated, because without education our life will be very, very difficult. Then science, everybody is a scientist in itself, smaller, big, this or that I don't know, but everybody is a scientist. But to pursue science, everybody not necessarily do it, but whoever is interested should do, but education is must. From laboratory to life, what are the global challenges we are facing? Power shortage, data explosion, sustainability. So how Spintronics can contribute to these emerging areas? We can make energy efficient computing, as I have just mentioned you. We can make smarter devices. Already smart devices are in place, and flexible devices which you can wear, which you can use to measure your body type. And artificial intelligence hardware inspired by the brain, and so on. So societal impact has to be sustainable and economic. The science we do today becomes the society we live in tomorrow. This we should always remember. So finally, I want to mention that sometimes we make mistakes, but we should learn from mistakes. Mistakes like knots in your fabric, but they make your fabric stronger. So analyze your mistakes and move forward. So what travesties we can create from our life, we can make lessons and we can move forward. And Spintronics actually teaches that small spins which you cannot see, you are using, and you are going to use it in the next decades or next centuries to come. So thank you and for your kind attention, and it is really a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.